Hey, everybody. Today we have Alia Jamal with us. She is going to be talking about self love. Her nickname, or what she goes by, is the Love Coach. So happy to have you here. We were talking about self love just a few minutes ago and how important it is. We met through an introduction. So I know that I always push you guys to do networking and get out there, but honestly, it is the best way to grow your business and just meet people. All of us, whether we have a business or not, we need circles. And so I am very thankful and honored that you're here to share your story with us.
Thank you so much, Sharon. It's truly an honor to be here, and I'm so excited for this conversation. And where we will go with that too.
Aaliyah, tell us about your story.
So, my story started in 2015. I fell into a very deep depression because there were things going on in my marriage that my mind just couldn't make sense. And the pain just got to a point that one day I found myself standing in my kitchen, holding on to the very high potency painkillers. There were like a bunch of them, and I was just ready to take them and just end it. And the most interesting thing about that moment is my son was 15-month old at that time, and somehow my mind said that he doesn't need me. Someone else can raise him. But right now, the most important thing is to end this pain. And in that very tiny moment, a voice said, "Get help." And I acted on that voice. And right there, the next thing I did, I Googled therapy near me. The first thing that popped up, I called them and they said, can you give us your word that you can wait till tomorrow? Tomorrow we can see you. Do you think you're stable enough? And I said, yeah, I think I'm stable enough. Otherwise, I think they were just going to call 911 on my behalf. Um, so the first thing I did, I went to the bathroom, I flushed the pills. Not sure if that's the right thing to do, but because I was just like, if I threw them in garbage, I don't trust myself. I might go and like dig them out. Now they are gone. And then I just waited. And I think the next day I walked into the therapist office, and that was the start of a beautiful journey of inner healing, just realizing what was going on within me. Once I got hold of, okay, that is what's going on within me. I was never connected with myself. I neglected myself. I put my self-worth in my marriage, in my relationship, in, what our identity is as a married woman. I put everything in that. So now it's time to build a foundation of who I am. And that was a long journey. And after a few months of getting therapy, I got myself back together, went back to work, put my kid in daycare. That is when I started to read self-help books. And I discovered there's a thing called coaching. Once I got into coaching, and I was just learning, I was just like, let me just learn and fix myself so my son can have a healthy parent. But I think it was like 4 or 5 years of just learning. And then I realized that, this is something amazing and beautiful. I kept getting happier. I also started learning energy healing, which was just amazing, mind blowing. And then at one point, I decided that if I can heal my heart, if I ever figure it out, I'm going to dedicate my life helping others do that. So in 2019, when I was having a solo breakfast date with myself, I heard the spirit spoke to me and it said, "You're going to be the love coach and you're going to help others heal their heart." At that time, I was calling myself relationship coach because that was the certification I was in. I have 4 different certificates. And I've been the love coach since then. And every day I'm learning new things so I can be a better version of me and I can help my clients become a better version of themselves too, more healed, more whole.
Yeah, if it's okay with you, otherwise we could edit it out. You guys know how I am, and I've had this conversation before.
Yeah.
Take us back to what do you think led up to the suicidal thoughts? What was going on that was so bad for you that you thought about ending your life?
I think everybody was against me in that moment, my whole family. And the person I loved so much, I fell in love when I was 17. So it was like, the high school sweetheart kind of love. So when that relationship was my identity, and when that fell apart, when he went for someone else, and he was the one saying that you're not good, I didn't know who I am outside of that relationship. Like I had zero identity. And it was just like, if he says I am not good enough, then I must not be good enough because the foundation was never there. Like I never created a foundation where I am good enough. I was always a A+ student. So it was like, I'm really good in school. And here's this man who loves me. That was my life. And when that fell apart, it was just like, okay, it's so painful. I don't want to see this. I don't want to be here. I'd rather just end it.
Thank you for sharing that. We, in medicine, there's a higher rate of suicide. And I think a lot of the problem is loss of control, loss of identity, because we went into medicine thinking it was going to be a certain way, but we find out eventually, or for a lot of us, that it's not how we thought it was going to be. Some of us want to leave, and then we have that identity crisis. Who am I without my profession? And although it's not similar, when you mentioned your feelings at the same time, I've heard this before with physicians talking about that loss of identity and suicidal thoughts.
Yeah. And you know, right now the book I was sharing with you that I'm working on, I mean, that book is channeled. It just came to me. It just took me 2 years to put together the courage to bring it to the world. The title is Breaking Away from the Shadow of a Man, a Woman's Ultimate Guide to Inner Emotional Freedom and Unconditional Self-Love. And that book is the steps that I took to rediscover my identity and separate myself from the man in my life. And that is how I was like, I am a person of my own and I can love him, and I can love him from a distance because, you know, he's the father of my son. We will always be co-parenting and we are really good friends at this point. He got remarried. I was at his wedding too, like that level of good friends. But they were very specific things that I did within me to shift that and become the person I am today. So that all, like I will say the essence went into that book. So I'm very excited for that book to come out in the world too, to be able to share, because that book, I wrote it for the girl who was on her floor in the living room, and she was just crying and she had no idea what to do. And that is a past version of me.
I don't want you to give it all away, but talk to us about maybe 3 tips that come to mind from the book where, or just in general, self-love. You are the love coach. Let's talk about self-love because for me, in my mind, and I know my listeners, at least I think I know my listeners, we can't control what happens in our relationships. We can control us, but we can't control what the other person does. So let's focus in on self-love. That's okay.
Yeah.
Give us a few tips for the woman listening out there that need help with self-love, just loving themselves,
Yeah.
accepting
So
themselves.
the first thing is trust. We don't even realize we don't trust ourselves because we never built it. We assume we trust ourselves. And sometimes we're like, oh, I love myself. And I hear that all the time. Whenever I introduce myself at a networking event, it's so fascinating to see how the other person just like shrinks and they're like, oh, I love myself. And I work with energy. I can see through their energy field. And I just, of course, don't say anything to that. Um, I cannot truly love someone unless I trust them. Trust comes first, then love comes. If I don't truly trust myself, I don't really love myself. I can assume I love myself. And what trust is, knowing that no matter what happens, I'll be okay. And you know that is theory, but when we get to exercise it, that is a very, very deep connection with my soul. And that happens from the heart. But, you know, if I am a very brainy person, I've always been an A+ student, most likely I'm stuck in my head. And that is the story for many of us adults living in this day and age. So we are stuck in our head, we are not in our heart, so we don't really trust. When I don't trust myself, now I'm going to depend on my accomplishments, how other people see me, what they are perceiving about me, and what are the physical possessions that I have. Now that becomes, of course, my identity. So if I lose any of one of them, I'm like, okay, I'm not I'm not complete now because I don't trust myself outside of having those things. So that is one. And then the biggest, and the next one we can talk about is self-validation. Not seeking validation from anyone or anything. I think that is the biggest one. I work on it every single day. My mind would tell me, if your business is this successful, then you're good enough. Like that thought comes every day. If you're married, then, or you have a boyfriend or a relationship or anything, then you can be somebody. But how about if I am a homeless person living under a bridge? I have nothing to my name. Can I still love myself? That's self-validation, taking it to that level. And that happens. The third part we can talk about is our connection with our soul. I'm also a soul guide and a spiritual teacher as well. Comes with unconditional self-love. How well do I know the being that is living in my body? We all know that there's something in our body. Once it leaves, people, bury us. What is that thing? What is that life force that is within me? And I think that is a much deeper conversation and a much deeper journey that we can sit with ourselves. We can feel who I am. When that inner world becomes more real than what I am experiencing in my outer world, then the love is anchored within me. Now, it doesn't matter what I have physically in my life, I feel whole and complete from within. And that love gets to be unconditional.
Aaliyah, thank you for that. For those listening out there, please reach out to Aaliyah if this resonates with you. Aaliyah, for those listening, how would they get a hold of you?
So the easiest way is to go to my website. It's aliajamalcoaching.com. It's AliaJamalCoaching coaching.com. And they can book a call with me, a consultation. They can also sign up for free resources. I teach a free workshop every single week called Love Circle, and all the topics are already there, so people can even look through what are the upcoming topics, and they can opt in and they can join that. I also do a podcast if someone is interested. The link is there too. It's called Unleashed Muslim Podcast, and that is where I share just my spiritual journey, like who I am right now in terms of, because I study all different religions. So it's pretty cool to be able to share that.
I love that. Tell us about the upcoming book. When can we expect to? I know that you're in the editing process.
Yeah. So I'm taking that project like with so much love and care.
Okay.
Definitely would be out by June, and it would be available on my website too.
Oh, congratulations. I'm so glad that
Thank
you're
you.
out there. You're helping other women with self-love. We go and we go. And we don't, I think so many of us give to others, right? We talk about that empty
Yeah.
cup, and it really does come down to self-love. I love how you mentioned validation, self-validation. I'll have to
Yeah.
give that some thought. And thank you for all your tips today. It was wonderful
Yeah.
meeting you.
Thank you so much.